Okay, so today we're continuing the Rambam in the halachos of mipnei seva takum v'hadarta b'nei zaken. So this is in Vav Tes, okay, and you could call this, I don't know if you call it like a pet sugya, but like I have been very fascinated by this halacha within the mitzvah. Okay, so if you don't mind, then I think I'm gonna be more free to go into non-Rambam sources.
Oh, I do not mind.
Okay, good. Yeah, because there's a lot of interesting philosophy here.
I am happy.
Okay.
I'm very happy.
Very good. All right. So we will begin with the Rambam. Rambam says, "Mi shehu zakin," someone who is an elder, muflag v'zikna, who is exceedingly old, right, excessive in old age. Afal pi she'eino chacham, even though he's not a chacham, umdin lefanav, we stand up in his presence, meaning we stand up like we do with a chacham. At this point, that's what it seems. Even a chacham who is young, well, yeled. I don't know if that means a child or like young. It sounds like a child, right?
Yeah, just imagine various sources of the gra.
Yeah, right. Omed bifnei hazakin hamuvlag b'zikna, stands in front of a zakin who is excessive in old age. You are not obligated to stand up to your full stature, but only enough to glorify him, right? So this is what we call the hop up, right? This thingy, which I've heard a lot of people say is not a real thing. I never know how they got that because it's right here.
Well, the question was it mean the full setting up? Like, is it what you're doing? Is it you mean like you're just Well, it could just be you're just like staying like this and saying like.
I guess that is a legitimate question. I guess malo komaso means, I interpreted that to mean that you're standing and you're fully standing straight, as opposed to like a partial standing, like rising up to honor him.
But or the way you're doing it. It was refer to like this, which you can't really stand. It's just a motion where you have to go back to sitting. Is like what you're talking about, like the actually you're doing that.
It's a good question about how precisely to do the thing. I'm just saying like that there is, let's say for now, I want to go to the postgame also, but for now it seems like there is a standing that is considered standing, but is also not to your full height, right? There's there is an in-between state, and what that is, we'll have to define. Yeah. Okay, vafilu zakin goy, even a zakin who is not Jewish, mahadrin oso b'dvarim, because this is the weird thing. We're mahadrin him with words. Okay, so up until this point, I don't believe we've seen the Rambam use the word mahadir to mean anything other than standing. Like mahadir has been synonymous with standing. Here he's saying we're mahadrin him with words. V'nosnin lo yad lo, and we give him a hand to support him. Okay, like to help him out, helping the old, usually it's an old lady across the street, old man across the street. I mean, presumably both. Shnemar mipnei seva takum, as it says, arise in the presence of old age. Kol seva b'mashma, and that implies all old age. Okay. So what are the questions on this this halacha here?
Why? Wait. But the pasuk says takum. Why the heck are you only b'chadar with Gemara?
Right, that's a good question, right? It does say takum. That's a good question, right? And if it's kol seva, which is to include the goy, then it shouldn't be takum. Yeah, it's a good question. That's funny. That's funny. I never noticed that.
Sure.
What else?
What's with the half standing?
Yeah, what is with the half standing? Like, presumably it should mean. Presumably it should be the same action. Okay, right? Like same mitzvah. But then the other thing also is like. I mean, isn't that the nature of the amida for the chacham also? We are standing in order to be mahadir him. Like the way he says it is weird. Like if he said we only stand. If he said we don't stand enough to honor him, like we stand but not enough to glorify him, I could see that. But up until, like I said, let's just look at the first halacha again in the parak. The first halacha does just say. Kol tamid chachamim mitzvah lahadro vav b'she'eino rabo shnemar mipnei seva takum hadarta b'nei zaken zeh shekana chachma me'emasai chayavin la'amod mipnei chacham. Right, so it's treating mahadar as synonymous with amida. And similarly, in the next halacha, ein ondim mipanav lo beves merchas v'lo beves akisei shnemar taku hadarta kimeshish ba'hidor. So that implies that the standing, if you stood, it would be a standing, but it just doesn't have hiddur in it. Yeah.
I don't want to say the puzzle because I want to check this puzzle because just what's the punctuation of this?
It's pnei seva takum hadarta pnei zaken.
The commas, they're just the trot. Because the takum is connected, there's a save on the darts to the zaken, and that punctuation that at least my one has. So we know what the trot is.
Mipnei seva takum hadarta pnei zaken diros emilahecha ni Adonai.
Yeah, that includes takum with seva, just
yeah.
Seva to.
So that's the other question also. Yeah, now that we see the pasuk. So hadarta, here's what I would have said based on the Rambam. Zaken equals chacham, right? And with a chacham, you do hiddur. But seva, you just do kima. And that would fit in really nicely, right? But that's not what he says. He says that you do amida kedei lahadro. So he brings in the hiddur back into the seva part.
Wait, I was trying to think. There were some darshis earlier where it isn't exactly clear what see, or wasn't exactly clear what was what between zakin and seva.
Did he mention seva earlier? Or did he just mention zaken? I can't remember.
No, I'm not really. He's supposed to pasukim. Maybe
Yeah.
I think how we're trying to function it out. Maybe it was Gemara.
Are you thinking of the what was it? What were the other drushes we did? There's the drusha with the workers, right? There, Yeresa, no. Talking about Hadarta, is that what you're thinking of? That was the weirdly punctuated one. That goes against the trop. Right?
Yeah, so.
But what's your question?
No, no. So I was trying. Just trying to think so. No, I just remember something where I forget what it was like. We were saying that the either saber or zaked would like be chacham. So like.
Oh, you're thinking of the Onklos?
Maybe that.
That the Onklos there says.
Also try to what like this is vikra.
Yeah, vikra 1932. Min kadam desavar ba'oraisa takum. So he translated seva as someone who is knowledgeable in Torah, and then Fesedar ape saba, he translated zakin as old person.
Okay,
is that what you're thinking of?
Yeah, which that makes more sense of the halacha because
right. That's saying you need to do hiddur for a saba, right?
Yeah.
Whereas the Rambam is trying to say you do hiddur for a zakin, even though the pasuk doesn't say that.
Well, I mean, except the halacha work out that way. It's just the question is it seems like he's translating seva as chacham, and zakin as, and he's translating zakin as saba.
Right, that's the Onklos. And then the Rambam says zakin is a chacham, and then seva is the one that's mashma kol seva. So the old person is. I mean, it's funny because in the halakha itself, he refers to him as a zaken, like an old guy. But when he darshans the pasuk, he says it's mipnei seva takum. So he knows. Here's what he could have said. He could have said, "Hadarshim mipnei zaken kol zaken b'mashma." Right? That would have been more consistent with the way he's doing the language.
I guess he's probably calling your son tomorrow.
Yeah. Oh yeah, right. But I'm saying like the way. So the Rambam could have just said mishuhu like. Seva bioser. I don't know exactly how it would be phrased. So let's just get out all the other questions also, and then we'll start looking at other stuff. Another question is, how old is zakin muflag b'zikna? Right? Muflag just means excessive. So how excessive? So like, does it go based on your society? Is it like is it relative? Is it objective? And what's with the havaminas here? Right, clearly there's a havamina that a chacham who's a yeled would not stand in front of a zaken, right? He says "Va'afilu chacham shu yeled mifnei zaken." And then there's another havamina that you should stand to your full stature, which that we said makes sense. And then there's a havamina that you should not that you should not do this with a goy, right? Or there's havamina that if you do it with a goy, you should do it the full way. But then we differentiate with a goy. So the question is, why do we differentiate with a goy? Like if it is kol seva b'mashma, then why don't we just extend it across the board and treat the zaki and goy the same way as we treat a zaki and Yisrael?
Okay. Can you read that also?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why don't we equate, if zaki and goy is included, why don't we equate him with the zaki and Yisrael? Right? Well, like why don't we stand for the goy? And also, this is the first time we're seeing that there's an idea of being mahadar with words and giving a hand for support. So it's mashma that you would do that for Zaki and Yisrael also. If you're doing it for Goy, Kol Shkein for Yisrael, but we haven't seen that halacha stated explicitly. Yeah. So it's very strange. And then the overarching question I have also, how does this fit into the mitzvah of being machabed malamdeha v'yode'aha? Right, like the mitzvah is to honor chachamim. So how does old people fit into chachamim? Like in terms of the structure of the mitzvah. Like if there was a separate mitzvah that was disconnected with the chacham, then okay, fine, I understand that. Like help old people, like in other societies. It's a lot of questions here. All right, let's start with Makbili because he's there. So Rav Makbili says, "Muflag bezikna." Adam muvugar ma'od, a very mature person. Okay, I don't think mature here, being matured in age. The Erech Begil 90. I don't know where he gets that from. Kafech al pi Rashi and Gitin Chavches Aleph. Let's just look at that. Gitin and Chavches Aleph. I wonder if that's going to be in the context of Tanai. Gitin al Tanai. I divorce you on the Tanai that I'm a Zaki Muflag. 28A.
Of what?
Gitin. Let's see. Doesn't use the word Muflag. Sikna. Is this what he's talking about here? This is the story with what's his? Oh, that's brachos. Sorry. I want Gitin. Zaken. Maybe get v'hinicho zaken o chole nosin la b'cheskas kayam. Okay, there's that. Oh, here we go. Gemara says Amar Rava Loshan zaken shlo higil legvuros v'chole shirov cholim l'chaim. V'al zaken shehigil legvuros v'gosa shirov gosasin lemisa lo. Okay, so let's just look at this Rashi that he's saying. Where's the Rashi? Is there a muflag? No. Tishim. Yeah, there we go. Yeah. So Rashi says on Iflig, that's I think what the Kafka is referring to. Veinu kashar ha'adam lios karov lamus. He's not like another person who's close to death. Of all ben shmonim ba'achas o yoser ad tishim karov lamusu. So from 81 until 90 is close to death. Yeah, he's getting it from the fact that the Gemara uses the word muflag, but it's completely different context there,
I do this. Okay, well, here's a good. Just think about the pulse. I thought of an idea. Which okay. That work. So we can seva takuba, darta pnei zakim, biarta me'alkecha niyashev. We can read that before the seva, like the sage, you should do a standing up that is a darta pnei zakim. This is an act. The is a hadarta pnei zakim, meaning that you're standing up for this seva has to also be a hadarta pnei zakim, which is you're also hadarta pnei zakim, but which means that you're, I guess, respecting his, or respect of zakinness. And for a Jew, like the ideal Jewish zakin is a Talmud chacham. So therefore, for the Jew, you stand up because if you're respecting his oldness, you're respecting the ideal oldness, which also includes him being a Talmud chacham. But for the non-Jew, that idea doesn't exist, so you just have to do normal hitter. Okay, so I like the concept that you're advocating. Linguistically or like limud wise, I'm not sold yet. Okay. But the idea that there is something in common between the kima sheish bo hidur that we show a zakin Yisrael for his chachma with a zakin Yisrael even not for his chachma, like that bridge, and then differentiating between that and the goy, like that move I think is good. Almost sounded like you're spinning a new drasha, but yeah. All this has to come from the pasuk. I try to see if I can knock out multiple words of the stone because to also explain why it's takum v'hadar.
Yeah. I see what's motivating you. Yeah. Look, if we're in the realm where we're coming up with our own drushos, then that's a good one. And nothing wrong with that. Like the Rambam came up with his own drushos, but that's just not what the Rambam is doing, right? Like we're trying to learn the Rambam's drusha. Okay, let's continue the makbili though, and then we'll look at other stuff. So Yeled, he says, is a tzayir. Yeled is like I initially translated, not a kid, but a youth. Okay, ve'inu chayav lamod, musav al hachacham. Okay, this is a question. About Adam acher omen meloko maso. Okay, here's the halacha. And I never realized this in all the years I learned this Rambam. He says, ve'inu chayav lamod meloko maso elokadei lahadro. It sounds like that's talking about for a person who's muflag b'zikna, you don't have to stand up all the way. But no. That's if you are a young chacham, or any chacham really, then you don't have to stand up for your full stature. But a regular person does have to stand up to his full stature for a zaken muflag b'zikna. Okay, so that's an important halachic point. Okay, then b'devarim, that's talking about a zaken goy, b'dibur b'milim, okay, in words. And then kol seva b'mashma kadei lahaknos la'adam midas anava, in order to cause a person to acquire the trait of humility bifnei zaken muflag, in front of a zaken muflag. Sheherich yamim v'nisyon chayav rav, for he has lived many days and the experience of his life is abundant. V'gam kvar shachach lahad haneurim shebo, and the flame of youth has already like flickered out in him. Hama'akev es hamidos hatovos, which withhold good midos. Okay, so he's getting this from a lot of places in the Rambam, which aren't really applying that to here. Like he's getting this from the thing that Rabbi Zimmer is doing in his shir, Mornevuchim Gimel and Daled, the fourth type of perfection, and the Hagdama to Perek Chamishi. Okay, I don't know where he's getting that from. Other Mufarshim say that. Okay, so let's, how do we want to go about this? Let's start off with the Torah Tamima. I haven't looked at the Torah Tamima yet, because he might quote some of the same drushos, and then we could go from there. Torah Tamima. Okay. Okay, so looks like the Gemara. Okay. We will get to the Torah Tamima in a second, but he quotes the Gemara in קידושין. So let's actually start with the Gemara. Lamed Beis Amud Beis in קידושין. Say Seva? Yeah. Okay. Ready? Okay. Tanu Rabbanan mipnei sevatakum. Yachol afilu mipnei zaken ashmai. Okay, so you might think that this is even before a guilty zaken. Okay, so guilty is a weird thing, right? Ashmai. So Rashi says zaken ashmai asham rasha ve'am haaretz. I don't think you need to be all three, right? I feel like saying ashmai is like either of those. It'd be weird to say that it means all three. You have to be an asham. And, first of all, if you're a rasha, you're definitely an asham. Zaken rasha, asham rasha an haaretz. Yeah. Okay, so you might think that you have to stand in front of that kind of zaken. Talmud lomar zaken bein zaken el chacham. Okay, so now the Gemara is saying no, zaken only means chacham. All right, Shneimar says esfali shivim ish miziknei Yisrael, and Rashi says miziknei Yisrael gamar zaken miziknei. So our zaken in zaken is learned out from ziknei in Moshe's case. Malahalan gedolim v'chachamim, just like in Moshe's case, it was the gedolim and chachamim. Dichsiv asher yadata kihim ziknei ha'am b'shot rav. That it is known that they are the elders of the nation and its officers. So meaning there, it clearly does not mean old people, because that what would mean? Why would it be ziknei ha'am b'shot rav? Yeah, fine. And then it says Rabbi Yossi Aglili Omer, different drasha, ein zaken ela misha kana chachma, which is what the Rambam brings down. Rashi Veloshan Notrikon Davar Kasu Dibra Kasu Notrikon Dibra Kasu. It was giving like an acronym. Zeh Shekana Chachma Zaken. Lakame Parech Hainu Tanakama. And later on it's going to ask that is the Tanakama. Okay. So far we haven't gotten to old person, right? Sounds like it's just saying Chacham still.
Well, is it like isn't?
Oh, it's going to say later.
No, it isn't. Wait, what was it saying? What was it saying? Save was because now it's clearly saying.
Right, it's funny because it started off. I mean, it said mipnei seva talking yachol afilu mipnei zaken ashmai, makes it sound like it's getting that from the word seva, but then it ends up saying this is kind of like what Chaim wanted to say, that if you just read mipnei seva talking, you would think that that's just an old person, or sorry, you wouldn't know whether that is an old person or whether that is a chacham. So then the pasuk qualifies by saying he has to be a seva and a zaken, and then through comparing the zaken to bamidbar, you learn it's a chacham. But right now, at this point in the Gemara, we think it's only someone who has chachma. We don't know that it's all seva. Okay.
This Gemara is just seva. I guess I'm still thinking about the Onklos.
Yeah. I mean, the Gemara seems to not be learning like the Onklos. Yeah. Okay. All right. So now the Gemara goes on. Okay. I'm not going to do the whole Gemara because then it talks about how far away you have to be. Then you might think you do it b'mamon.
So, overall, it's clear it's having the chachamim and dartan, but both of them are applying to it's both applying to the zaken.
It sounds like it's one person so far, right? We're not differentiating between the two, right? Okay, but then it says, Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar Omer, minayin l'zaken shelo yatri. Okay, no, we read that already. Oh yeah, fine. Okay, yeah, this is what we want to. Minayin l'zaken shelo yatriach. How do we know that the zaken should not be matriach people? Tamalomar zaken v'yaresa. Okay, fine. Then we get to the statement. Isi ben Yehuda Omer mipnei seva takum afilu kol seva b'mashma. This implies all seva, right? So that would mean even old age. Let's just see if there's a Rashi here. Kol seva b'mashma afilu zaken ashmai, even a guilty zaken. Okay, so now it looks like that Isi ben Yehuda is arguing on, who was the one who said the earlier one, is arguing on the Tanakama, right, on this brisa. I assume that's what it means by Tanakama. So that's what the Gemara asks. It says, Rabbi Yossi Aglili, Hainu Tanakama. So now, wait, where's Yossi Aglili? Oh, no, sorry. Yeah, so now there's no difference between Rabbi Yossi Aglili and the Tanakama. Okay. Wait, hold on. Is it referring to a different Tanakama here? Tanarabana, Mipnei Sefer Takum, Yachal Afilu Mipnei Zaken Ashmai, Tam Lomar Zaken, Vein Zaken El Chacham. And Rabbi Glili says, "In talking El Misha Kana Chachma." I mean, it's a question. What is the difference between Yossi Glili and the Tanakama?
Well, the Zaken Ashmai.
No, but no one holds Zaken Ashmai. That was the question.
No, right? Okay, no. The difference would be about Acher. He's Kana Chachma.
But doesn't it sound like I see what you're saying. Meaning Yossi Glili is going to hold anyone who's kind of chachma, even Ashmai. No longer, I see what you're saying.
Let's just go with a more common case, like a person's filling their health and they've become a vegetable. Where it's like a Talmud Chacham, unfortunately, becomes a vegetable.
Right.
He's a vegetable now. He can't speak or even be conscious. Like
right.
You stand for him.
So it's interesting because look what the Gemara answers. Ika b'nayu. Here's the nafkamina. Yanik v'chakim. Someone who's young and a chacham. Okay, right. So in other words, the way that it was saying it before is it either has to be zakin plus chachma or zakin equals chachma. Rabbi Yossi Glili is saying zakin, it means chachma. It doesn't have anything to do with age. But the Tanakama was saying that you have to be a zakin and have chachma.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so because a seva is someone who has zakin and chachma. A seva is a person who's old and
let's not put it in terms of seva. Let's put the pasuk is talking about someone who has old age and chachma, and Rabbi Yossi Glili is saying no, only chachma. And the nafkamina is someone who's young and has chachma. Let's look at Rashi here. Rashi says Tanakama savar yanik v'chakim lo. Right? Is that the way we were learning it? Yeah, right. V'hachika amar Tanakama. This is what the Tanakama meant. Ein zakin ela zakin shu chacham. There's no zakin except for a zakin who is a chacham. Shneimar as says asfali shivim ish miziknei Yisrael v'gomer v'hasam zakinim v'chachamim hayu k'dichsev asher yadata kihem v'gomer alma zakinim v'yiduim havu. Okay, I don't know why Rashi needed to spell that out. And then yeah. Okay, my time at Rabbi Yossi Glili. So what is the reasoning of Rabbi Yossi Glili? Amar he would say to you, Amar Tanakama, if you were to think like the Tanakama, that is davka, old and wise, In kain nichtov Rahmana mipnei seva zaken takum v'hadarta. That's like kind of similar to what you were saying. Then it should say, in front of someone who is old and wise, you should takum v'hadarta. Okay. What is this Rashi going on? Yeah, Rashi, Rabbi Yossi Aglili, de mashani le lekra mimashma'o zikna mamish. So he's taking the pasuk out of its literal implication of old age, literally. V'darish le'ezeh shekana chachma savar afil yan v'chakim. Okay, that's just explaining his shita. Okay, now what's this havamina? Yisagadaytach amar tanakama. Dachad hu, that it's one person. See, that's the real machlokas, right? Is it? Oh, interesting. So the Tanakh definitely holds it's one person. I mean, they seva talking about Darta B'nai Zaken. It's not describing two different people. It's just you have to be seva and a zaken, right? So that's Isa Gadaitach Kedamar Tanakama Dechadhu, that it's one person, the Iri Be Krad, that the pasuk is talking about. Seva Bihu Chacham, old and a Chacham. Nichtov, then it should say Mipnei Seva Zaken Takum Hadarta. V'nigmar Gzer Shava, V'nigmar Gzer Shava. And then you can learn the Gezer Shava. Oh, you can learn the Gezer Shava that Zaken means Chacham. Maishna de Palginhu. What does it teach us that it differentiates it? Meaning, Yossi clearly saying the fact that the pasuk doesn't say Seva Zaken, but it says Seva Tagum and V'hadar Pnei Zaken. What does that teach us? Shmamina Tarti Mili. It's teaching us two things. Sorry, that there are two things. V'hakamar Mipnei Seva Takum V'hadar Takum. Wait, mipnei seva takum v'hadarta. Takum v'hadarta pnei zak. Wait, I don't know how to punctuate this Rashi. Mipnei seva takum v'hadarta. Takum v'hadarta pnei zakin shekana chachma v'afilu yanik umidakapit achachma amrina nami seva lav zakin ashmai ka'amar deleka lamema Rabbi Yossi azakin ashmai nami palig in kain hainu isi ben Yehuda. Okay, so it's trying to work out the three shitas, right?
So is it double using takum v'hadarta? How is it? Wait, is it saying takum v'hadarta goes in zakin and then seva also goes on it?
All right, let's try it again from the top. Not from the top, from the middle. So it's tartimili, it's two things. Mipnei seva takum v'hadarta, end quote. Takum v'hadarta pnei zakin shekana chachma. You should stand up and glorify the presence of a zaken who acquired chachma. V'afilu yanik, even if he is young. Okay, that's Rabbi Yossi Haglili's shita. Umida kapid a chachma, and once you see that the Torah cares about chachma, amrinan nami seva lav zaken ashmai ka'amar, then we can learn that the seva in the first half of the pasuk is not talking about a zaken ashmai. Okay, why not? Deleka lememar Rabbi Yossi azaken ashmai nami palik, because we don't want to say that Rabbi Yossi Haglili is also arguing on the zaken ashmai.
So
Ella in kain hainu isi ben Yehuda, because then if that were the case, then he would be isi ben Yehuda. So it turns out that what does Rabbi Yossi Haglili hold that the seva is talking about? So the seva must be talking about, what is it going to be? Just a regular old person? Probably just a. See, when Rashi said Zaken Ashmai is includes Russia, that sounds like a dafka, like a bad person, not just a neutral old person.
Is it? Well, the Russia thing includes or is a Russia?
Well, Zaken Ashmai would include a Russia.
Oh no, like could just be a Russia. It's only a Russia.
Okay, fine. So it can only be Russia. But then what he's saying then is that Yossi Haglili must hold that not Zaken Ashmai. So in other words, it turns out Yossi Haglili holds Mipnei Seva Takum is a regular old guy, right? And V'hadarta Pnei Zaken is a chacham regardless of age. Okay, that's Yossi Haglili. Tanakama holds seva plus zaken. You need both qualities, old and wise. And the Isi ben Yehuda holds that seva is afilu kol seva b'mashma, which means even ashmai, even someone who's like Russia. I think those are the three shitos.
Yeah. Okay.
Is that the end of the limudim? I think so. Oh no, not yet. Wait, you shouldn't buy smoke zaken erase a I think we have to go on a little bit more. The Tanakama. So what does the Tanakama hold? About what? What was the
because you need to
Tanakama Omer Shapasuk Nichtav Kach Mishum. Oh yeah, fine. It's explained just what the Tanakama Shita is. Tanakama Mishum Debayla Mismach Zakin V'Aresa. Wait, I don't know why we're going to Zakin V'Aresa. Let me just look at the Steinsaltz. The Tanakama Omer Shapasuk Nichtav Kach Mishum Debayla Mismach Zakin V'Aresa Kedivri Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar. Okay, so we didn't read Shimon ben Elazar. Right, so let's stop here for our purposes and go back to the pasuk. So what do we get from here? So let's just go back to the pasuk and see it in the pasuk again. So you have three ways to read the pasuk. So the Tanakhama says, "Arise and glorify someone who has seva and zaken, someone who's old and wise." That does not include young wise people, and it does not include zaken ashmai. Then you have Yossi Aglili, who holds, rise up in front of a regular old person. Tanakama says that in the pasuk only is talking about one person, and it's someone who's old and wise.
Okay.
Rabbi Yossi Aglili says Mipnei Sevatakum is old, not guilty, but just old. And then Hadar Pnei Zaken is wise, nothing to do with age. And then Rabbi Isi ben Yehuda seems to hold that seva is mashma kol seva afilo ashmai, and then zaken he learns presumably like Yossi Aglili.
Yeah.
I think that's it.
Yeah. The first one says it has to be both.
All right, so let's look at the Torah Tamima on this now. Let's see how he brings it down. Okay, so seva kol seva b'mashma. Yachol afilu mipnei zaken ashmai tamlomer vadartu pnei zaken in zaken elamisha kana chachma. So that's easy, or that's a Rabbi Yossi Aglili. So let's just look at all these Torah Tamimas here. 239 Ratzlomer afilu am haaretz. Okay, Russia v'avarian. Okay, so that's the first limud. Is seva is afilu kol seva b'mashma. Okay, and then Yachol afilu zaken ashmai. So if it's kol seva, you might think it's really all seva, meaning even old wicked people. Bur v'arvarian of all Ein Ratzlam or Russia. I don't know what he's getting the Ein Ratzlam or Russia. I mean, Rashi learned that Ashmai was a Russia.
What was the exact words of Rashi?
Rashi's exact words were Asham Russia v'am haaretz. Right? So it sounds like Torah to me was not learning like Rashi for some weird reason. The pshit hu she'ein mechuyavim b'chvodo. It's pasha that you don't have to honor a Russia. I mean, it's not pasha from Rashi. Yeah. Okay.
So just wait. So the statement. So quick. First, is there a machlokes about whether or not we honor whether or not zaken shmai includes on our aretz, or whether we what's there machlokes on whether we hold like the zaken the shita says you don't stand for the zaken shmai?
Well, there's definitely a shita that says you don't stand for the zaken ashmai, right? That would be the Tanakama.
But I mean, like, I'm just trying to think about the wrong one, because is like he make a call chomer from an Am Aretz to non-Jew.
Well, so that's the thing. So far, we haven't mentioned anything about a non-Jew, right? That's gonna be the interesting thing where the Rambam gets that from. Okay, it might be another Gemara. We'll see. But definitely seems to be that Rashi includes Rasha in Ashmai, and the Torah Tamima does not. Okay, but let's see where he goes with this. Tamalomar v'hadarta pnei zaken ein zaken el misha kana chachma. Okay, lashon notri konhu ze kana chachma. Kach Pirsh Rashi. Okay, so that's how he's understanding Rashi, which is how we understood him. V'yish lahosif beur mishum destam zaken me'asef chachma al yidei nisyonos rabim bekoros yimei chayav. Okay, so this is another thing that I wanted to get into today, but I wasn't sure when we were going to get into it. That a stam zaken, you can call him a chacham. Why? Through the life experience that he has undergone in his life. Okay. U'kamosh kasav b'Iyov amarti yamim yidaberu v'rov shanim yodiu chachma. So this is when Iyov is this is I believe Elihu, who was the young guy, explaining why he let the other three of Eov's friends talk first. So he says, Amarti yamim yodaber. I said, let days speak. V'rov shanim yodio chachma. Let those who are abundant in years give chachma. Umimela mavur shekol mi shekana chachma v'afilu tzayir liyamim gam kein tzarich lahadro. So it's clear that someone who is young in years, also you're obligated, you need to honor him, glorify him. V'afilu v'ayim b'yoridia siman reish mem dalad. Ulafanenu bereish perik parshas chayesara vפירוש Avram Zaken. Okay, we're not gonna look at Avram there. Yeah, you know what? I want to interrupt the Torah Tamiма just to show you this one thing here. In when we really did the Sefer HaChinuch in Reish Nun Zayin, I started reading it and then I stopped because we got to this case. So now I want to read it in its entirety. Reish Nun Zayin. So this is the Sefer HaChinuch's explanation of the Talmud mitzvah. Mishrash mitzvah. So the root of the mitzvah is lefisha ikar hayos adam nivra ba'olam hu mipnei chachma. The essential creation of man in this world is for chachma. Kadei sheyakir boro, so that he could recognize his creator. Al kain roy livnei adam lachavin mishi hizigosa. Therefore, it's proper to honor someone who has attained this. And that will cause other people to be aroused towards chachma. So that's what we said so far. That's why we honor chachamim, because man was created for chachma. And if you show honor to people with chachma, then that'll make people strive towards chachma. Okay, but now he explains the old person thing. From that root, Pirish Isi ben Yehuda, B'Gemara קידושין, Shafilu Zakin Ashmai. Isi ben Yehuda explains in the Gemara קידושין, even a Zakin Ashmai, Klomar She'eno Chacham. Okay, not like Rashi, he doesn't say Rasha, that even someone who's not a chacham, hu bichlala mitzvah sheroy l'chavdo, he's included in this mitzvah that it's proper to honor him. Mipnei shebarov shanav ra'av v'hevin k'tzas b'masei Hashem v'nifla osav. Because through his many years, he has understood some of the Masei Hashem and his wonders. Mitoch kach roy l'chavod, and that's why he's roy for kavod. V'hainu da'amar Rabbi Yochanan Sham b'kiddushin halacha ki Isi ben Yehuda. That's why we paskin like Isi ben Yehuda. V'zesha amru b'tanai shelo yeh balaveros. So there is another Gemara that says b'tanai shelo yeh balaveros. That's in Sanhedrin. That must be where the Torah Tamima is getting it from. She'im kain mana atzma mikavod. Because if he's a balaveros, then he's withheld kavod from himself. So the Rashi must have just been talking about a havmin. It's still weird, but
he's saying that we do sin for all old people, except
people who are balaveros.
Except people who are balaveros.
Yeah, and it's not because they're not chachamim; it's because they've removed themselves from kavod. But he's saying that that why do we stand for old people in general? So this is answering my question about how this is incorporated into the mitzvah. Is that old people will have acquired chachma through what they've experienced in their life or through what they've seen in their life. And now the way he phrases it is he says k'tzas ma'aseh Hashem v'nifla osav, which sounds like nature and miracles, right? Mm-hmm. But if you compare that to Ralbag, this is just Ralbag on the same pasuk. Ralbag says an interesting thing. Okay, so Ralbag, in his usual way, who is not concerned with getting to 613 mitzvos, right? He's fine just counting things as mitzvos as he sees fit. Looks like he counts Mipnei Seva Takum as one mitzvah saseh and Hadar T'Pnei Zakin as a separate mitzvah saseh. Okay, so let's see what he says. Mipnei Seva Takum, he mitzvah saseh lakum mipnei kol ish seva k'dei l'chavdo. So it is a mitzvah saseh to arise up in the presence of every old person in order to honor him. Uvezeh toelas, and this is beneficial. Ki mipnei zeh, because of this, yishma'u tzirei hayamim l'divrei hayeshishim. Younger people will listen to their elders, right? Like in many societies, or should be in societies. And their words will be precious to them. And then that will cause them to act in accordance with their discipline. Because the old people, so this is going to sound like what Sefer HaChinuch was saying, but with slight differences. Because of the abundant events that they've seen with their own eyes, they will be able to teach the young people many things in ethics. Okay, so not Maaseh Bereshis and Niflaos, but seeing like a lot of life experience that they'll be able to pass on to people. ולזה יקרא למי שישמע לדבריהם שינצל מהרבה מהפגעים אשר היו באים עליו לולא עצת הישישים. And this will save young people from lots of misfortunes that would have come upon them had they not listened to their elders.
So I've heard where violence in a country tends to correlate well with the average age, where when the average age is like somewhere around 20, tends to result in chaos, war, and death.
Interesting.
Was like, say, Europe was violent, had average age, and like, say, the Arab Spring was happening, I guess, more recently because of that. Well, I guess that cannot really explain Russia and Ukraine.
Well, this doesn't mean that it's all violence, but yeah. So Rambam would say that if you had enough elders in the society that people honored, then they might listen to their elders to say that violence isn't worth it. Okay. Okay, I read that. Well, that's a weird one. He's saying that by honoring elders, that will settle in your soul that you should give kavod to Hashem, who is eternal, who cannot depart from existence and will not leave. Like, it's almost like saying like Hashem is the ultimate elder, chas v'shalom, that we take that literally. But like, in other words, Hashem is, if you're honoring, like, okay, maybe this thing like a psychological thing is that it is weird. We do honor, or there is like, I feel like there's a primitive, natural, like deeply rooted thing that you give honor to things that are very old. You know, like I was looking on the, I don't know if you do this. I do this a lot, but like in Wikipedia, oldest blanks, you know, like oldest, let's see, last week I did 2 of them. I went through all the oldest, surviving veterans of the American Revolution, you know, and I also did oldest trees, you know, and there's a certain like reverence for things that are older, like the pyramids, you know, people look at the pyramids and, you know, they're in awe of just how old they are.
Yeah,
you know?
I get that. It was just like, I guess sometimes they where the ancient Sumer was like, the ancient history of our ancient history is ancient history.
Exactly. Yeah. Right. So sounds like he's saying a similar thing that there's 2 benefits in honoring the elders. One is that they have wisdom, and when you honor them, it'll create a society where young people listen to their elders. That's an ethical benefit in Midos. But then separately, he's saying elders bring to mind the idea of eternality, even though human elders are not actually eternal. Like they've been around for a long time, so it brings to mind the idea of eternality, and therefore you will give greater honor to Hashem, who is truly eternal. That's an interesting philosophical idea. It sounds like he's trying to get a philosophical idea and an ethical idea out of it. Okay, so that's for seva, but then he says separately, that's a separate mitzvah to say. Zaken is what the word means, which is chacham. We call a chacham a zaken even though he's young in years. Amar zakenim mishar shavasu. See, okay, that's a much better. See, this is what I mean when I said you can create your own drashos like the Rambam does. To me, this is a much more convincing drasha that chacham, zaken means chacham. In Eicha, where he's bemoaning, elders have ceased from the gates. Right? That was the thing that the elders, you know, would advise the city. And elders does not necessarily mean old people. It means people who can give advice, you know, as opposed to learning it out from like the Gzera Shava, you know.
It was like what is Gzera Shava?
Well, I mean, the basic idea of Gzera Shava is you take the word from one location and you extrapolate qualities from that location to apply to another location.
Because I was trying to, what was the Gemara doing I guess trying to make actually just define the word zaken.
I mean, Rashi seemed to learn it like it was an actual limud, right? Gamar zaken mizikne, malahalim gedolim v'chachamim dichsiv asher yadata kihem zikne am v'shod rav. So to hear.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
whereas Rabag's learning it it's a definitional thing.
Yeah. Like, I agree. It's certainly better than the abbreviation.
Yeah, the abbreviation one's a little weird. Yeah.
It's just like, what?
Yeah. Hidr means standing up before him in order to glorify him. This will bring you to fear God. Yira atzuma. Oh, that might be where he's getting that first interpretation from, that both types, with actual elders, and Hadat Zakin will lead you to a certain Yira of Hashem. Let's see how he explains it. Ki govha chachmaso le'ein kates. God's chachma is greater than measure. Al chachmas hazakin shetuchuya bo lechavdo. Like the kolshkein. Like if you are honoring a person with chachma, God's chachma transcends all human chachma. So of course you're going to honor God. And v'nifla kedimas mitziusa le'ein kates mikedimas mitziusa ish hayishish. That's where he's getting from. And God's eternality of existence is qualitatively more than the long, the eternality, so to speak, of a human elder. Okay, so that's where he gets it from. That's a nice pirush. Okay, back to the Torah Tamima, which is what we were on. We're doing his limudim, Torah Tamima. I'm glad that you're okay going on to non-Rambam things. Okay, I'm enjoying 100%. This. Yeah, okay.
I enjoy trying to stick with Sukkim.
Yeah. That's why Torah Tamima was a good resource. Okay, we were on 241. V'yesh lahayir b'mashkas b'yavamos kuf aleph amud aleph inyan chalitza. I don't know if this is going to be relevant. Tichsiv v'karlo zikne ha'iro darshu l'rabos afilu hedyotos. V'lam lo darshu k'mo hacha. Okay, that's an interesting question. That in Yevamos, it says they shall call the elders of the city, and at Darshans, elders is coming to include even non-chachamim. So he's saying, why don't they darshan elders there to mean davka chachamim? He says the real truth is you can't remove zakin from its pshat, which is elder in years, even a non-chacham. But here it's different. Because it started off by saying before old age you should rise up. So it's already mentioned zikna, an idea of zikna. Therefore, this is exactly what Chaim was saying. So then why should it say zaken? V'lachin darish dekai al chacham u'kedem b'farish. So in other words, if you see the word zaken standalone, so then that means old age. Mm-hmm. And there you can say like, and that would include even hedyotos. But here, because you already led with seva, which is old age, then when you see the term zaken, you have to interpret that that word zaken to mean more than just old age. So that's why it's learning as chacham. And then you can't say that in the Vamos case. Okay, v'da d'lefi mashakasav degam chacham tzayir liyamim hu bichlal zaken b'chayavim behiduro. And you should know that from the fact that it says a young chacham is included in zaken and you're obligated to be mahader him. Yischayev shgam mipnei she'osek b'tzedaka u'masim tovim. Alpha pisha eno tamid chachamim chayavim gankein behiduro. Really? He's saying that once you see that a chacham who's young is included in zaken and you need to be mahader him, then even someone who is not a chacham but who's osek in tzedakah and masim tovim, you're also obligated to honor. You know who disagree with that? Ramosha Feinstein, right? He holds even someone who knows all of Torah and all of Torah will pay, you don't honor unless they're also machadesh. But I don't think he would go for this masim tovim and tzedakah thing. Where does he get that from? Let's say Yan Shigamhu Kalu B'Shem Zaken, because that's also included in the name Zaken. Okay, that I've seen. She came into the Megillah Yud Zayin on the base. Shekolim B'Tfilas Yud Ches. Ooh, he might answer the question that reader emailed me in with. Shekolim B'Tfilas Yud Ches B'Birkas Al Tzadikim Gam Es Gerei HaTzedek Tiksiv Hadarta Pnei Zaken Usmich Le'Vchi Yagur Itcha Ger Haridim Mefarish Zaken Tzadik. Okay, so he's learning out from Megillah Yud Zayin Beis that includes in the Shemona Esrei in the Brachon Al Tzadikim. It says you include Ger HaTzedek. Why? Because of the smichus of Hadarta Pnei Zaken and Ki Yagur Itcha Ger. So you see that Zaken there can't mean just old, it must also mean righteous, because that's how you say Gerei HaTzedek. That's interesting. I don't know. What? Let's look at the Gemara inside. Megillah, Yud Zayin Aleph Beis. Okay, tzadikim. Okay. This is the one that darshans the order of the Shemona Esrei. Okay, so it says, okay, Kevan shekalu haminim. Once the minim have been destroyed, misromemes keren tzadikim. Then the pride of the tzadikim will be raised up. Diksiv, as it says in Tehillim, b'chol karnei rishaim egadea. Is that how you say it? Egadea. Kol karnei rishaim agadea. To romamna karnos tzadik. Okay, fine. Then it says, "V'kol gerei hatzadik im tzadikim." You include gerei hatzadik along with tzadikim. Shnemar, as it says, "Mipnei sevatakum hadar tapnei zakin usmichle v'chiyagur itchem ger." Okay. So what the Gemara is trying to explain is, why do we daven for gerei hatzedek in al tzadikim? Really, al tzadikim should just be about tzadikim, right?
Why do you create a special ger clause?
Yeah, right. Like gerim are great, but what are they doing in the bracha of al tzadikim, right? So he's saying it's because of the smichos. Okay, so that's the Gemara's point, because it's because of the smichos. But the Torah Tamima's point is, he's saying you see from that. Yeah. Should I go back?
So is the Gemara saying that it's just tellus ideas of tzaddik?
Well, I think that's what the Torah Tamima was going to try to explain. So the Torah Tamima said that you see from the fact, where did it go? Oh yeah. He says, Mgilah shekolin betfilas yotches bebirchas al tzadikim gam as geret tzaddik dichsiv v'adarta b'nei zakin usmichle v'chiyagur itcha ger hari demafarish zakin tzaddik. Okay, so how do you learn that zakin refers to a tzaddik? Because if zakin did not refer to a tzaddik, then how could the Gemara be using a pasuk about zakin to show what you include in the bracha of al tzadikim? So the Gemara's premise is that zakin in our pasuk must mean tzaddik, because otherwise, how could it use it to answer this question about why we include gerin? Mm-hmm. Okay, so now from there, the Torah Tamiма is saying, you see from there that when we talk about honoring a zakin, we mean any type of tzidkus, not just chachma. Mm-hmm. It's kind of his own limud, but.
Okay, so assuming zakin means tzaddik.
Yeah.
Then
yeah.
So zakin means tzaddik, and therefore,
yeah, sure. So it's like this. We were under the impression that zakin meant davka chacham, mm-hmm. right? And that the mitzvah is to honor chachamim, mm-hmm. not bali masim tovim. Mm-hmm. Torah Tamima is making the argument that the obligation of v'hadarta b'nei zakin includes honoring people who did good actions. How does he get that? Because the Gemara in Megillah says, how do we know that we include gerei tzedek in the bracha of al tzadikim? Because the pasuk about zakin is juxtaposed to gerei tzedek. So you see that zakin in that pasuk in our pasuk must mean tzadikim, because otherwise, if zakin in our pasuk only meant chachamim, then we wouldn't apply it to the bracha of al tzadikim.
So he's using his Shemona as a proof that zakin means tzaddik.
Yeah, and that has halachic nafkaminas that you should honor someone who's just a bal masim tovim. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm saying. It sounds like his own limud. I mean, that's a bold move, right?
It's just I can accept as a proof that might be limud, which is on the other hand, that's like the Shemona came after the
mitzvah, yeah, right. Look, I can even accept that that's pshat and Shemona Esrei.
Yeah.
But to say that you're mechuyav midoraisa to honor balei masim tovim, based on this argument, I think that's not so clear.
I can accept that it's just at least like lacking because it's a proof for the law, not a proof of the law.
I don't get the distinction.
The distinction being, I guess, the proof for laws, and it's, I guess, proof of like the eventual law, like the I guess the final psak or whatever, but that's not an explanation of why the law is what it is. It's just saying here's a proof the law is like this, not an explanation of why the law would.
I mean, I'm saying it's not even a proof that the law should be like this.
Okay.
Because like the Gemara should say that. I mean, just to put it bluntly, like if you're talking about a zaken, amaretz, that's not necessarily bal matim tovim. Now he might be saying that we don't paskin like that, but well, let's see the rest of his argument because I do have to leave at 2:30 today because it's Tuesday. Why am I blanking on chaf mem? Whatever. It's also written in Kiddushin Lama Gimel base. Shani Rav Yechezkel Debal Masimhu Dafilu Mar Shmuel Kaim Mikame. Okay, so that is at least a precedent here that Rav Yechezkel was a Bal Masim and Mar Shmuel would stand up before him. Although if it's Rav Yechezkel, then you would think he's Talmud Chacham. V'Shavas Lamed Aleph Amud Beis Mashma Dafilu Rak Mishu Yarei Hashem Be'emes Chayavin Lamed Mipanav. In Shabbos, it's mashma, even someone who's just Yarei Hashem, you have to stand up in front of him. Visa Hasam Nikum Mikame de Gavar de Chayil Titainhu. V'chein Hasvar Nosenes de Iker Limud HaTorah Hu Almanas Lasos V'Psukim Lo Nisbar Mizeh. Okay, I mean this is a chiddush. Okay, I'm curious to see if anyone brings this down the halacha. Okay, next issue he goes into is going to be something else which we asked, but we're not going to read right now because I don't think we're going to have time. That's how old you have to be in order to be included in seva. I just want to see what other drushes in the Torah Tamiма he says so that we can come back to it tomorrow. So the next one is Takum Hadarta. Okay, that we did. Izu Kima. No, Izu Hider. Tana Chacham Shnismana Muchlinla. Yahal Yasim. This might be the only one we do. Shina only with Rabo. With Seva. Bahadarta. Yeah. Yeah, fine. So that's the only Torah Tamima that we. So tomorrow, the plan will be to pick up with the Torah Tamima. Okay, finish that. Then go back and see if we can answer all of our other questions on the Rambam, and then also look at the halacha l'maisa on this about who you have to stand for old people and how. And then the goy. I mean, the goys are the other sources in Hedron. Yeah. Okay. Good. So we'll be on this for at least another day, if not two. Yeah. Okay. I'll stop here for today.
Okay. One round two. Today.